when you print swimsuit pattern winter, don't forget to leave your size, the first one we have here, and I have chosen the shorts look, not the higher hip, and then you must leave the template and the BDC template also. Always your size and these other two according to your choice on the hip line. Let's talk about our swimsuit pattern winter pattern pieces. So I have my back, which has a curved center back seam. It has no excess fabric. Once it's done, it's very nice. Then I have my front with a fold line here on the middle. Never mind that this is just a test, so it doesn't have any annotations, but yours will have. It has a side dart for better fit. And then you already know that you have two options on the leg line. However, this one that I'm gonna sew today is neither of the options because I'm gonna show you on another video how you can also adjust the height of the hip for your own taste. I add 2.5 centimeters higher, the hip is higher, and so I had to adjust the front, the back, reshape the curve, trim to see if it was smooth, the connection between the front and the back. And then I also removed 1 centimeter on each side here, but you can see all the changes I've done on the previous video. However, the sewing process is exactly the same. So the meaning of the video that we will shoot is showing you how to build, how to sew this swimsuit. So it doesn't matter if I have changed a little bit the curves, the method will be the same. Then we still have here another two pieces of patterns, which are the front and the back of the built-in bra. This is the front with the fold line here and two darts, and this is the back with the fold here on the center back. And the pattern pieces, that's it. Now let's move on and check the video for the fabrics and the supplies that we will need for today's tutorial. This is the non-reversible pattern, as most of you have seen on the intro video. You don't see any seams except the leg holes, but nevertheless it's a non-reversible. So I'm going to use as a lining this very thin lining that I have. This is from 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏. This is called 𝗕𝗂𝗽𝗽𝗍. It's a very lightweight lining. You can see through it if you watch carefully. It's very light, it doesn't influence the tension around my body, and it's neutral, and it's very comfortable. It's not very easy to work on the first time you do it because it's very slippery and light, but it's amazing. I really love, I'm always using 𝗕𝗂𝗽𝗍 from 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏 as a lining. Then I have a black swimwear fabric here to do my straps. The straps are done using 2 layers of the same fabric, and I will be using the 2 layers in black. Then I have this blue for the main body, front and back pieces, which I really love, and this is the swimwear fabric I'm going to be using today. This one is also from 𝗕𝗂𝗏 and is a little bit thicker than my usual swimwear fabric. I usually use Vita, and the stretchiness of this one is a little bit less than the Vita, but so I know that my swimsuit is going to be a little bit tighter, but I'm gonna use it anyway today, and I think it's going to be fine. So this is the blue one that I'm gonna use as my main fabric. And finally, for the built-in bra, I'm gonna be using this power mesh. This is stretchable in both directions, so horizontally and vertically. And this is actually quite soft and stretchy, and you can use a strong power mesh if you need more support, and thicker power mesh if you need more support for your bust. However, I'm gonna use this one because I really don't need that much support, so I'm just gonna be using this one to show you how we include the built-in bra. And on the top area of our swimsuit, we will have actually 3 layers of fabric. We will have the built-in bra, we'll have 1 layer of fabric, but since the swimsuit is all lines, you will also have the lining fabric. So it's perfectly fine for me to have 1 thicker fabric and 2 thin fabrics on my bust, and I don't need that support, so that's the fabrics that I'm using today. Regarding other supplies, it's the same as usual, except for today I'm gonna add the under the bust elastic. This is supposed to be a rubber elastic, so it's chlorine and water resistant. However, I don't have with this width. I only have small one, and it's very hard to get it here in Portugal. So I'm gonna be using this to show you how to do it. But if you have rubber elastic, swimwear elastic, wider, it's better than using this one. This one, just so you know, it's 2.5 centimeters width, and I will be using this today. The rest of the supplies are the same as usual, so if you need, also check our tips and tricks where you will find all the sewing supplies that you need to sew swimwear. So let's start cutting our pattern pieces and our fabrics one by one. As always, and I'm not going to be explaining this a lot in this tutorial, I always cut folding the fabric on the fold line mentioned on the pattern and taking into consideration the greater stretch of the fabric, which should be placed horizontally towards your body, so it's the opposite of the grain line direction which is mentioned on the pattern. I think these are some basic knowledges that I assume that you know. I know that probably some of you don't, so I really urge you to watch some tutorials before you actually start sewing. And if you watch the older tutorials that I've done, I go in more details that I go now, but nevertheless, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them. I'm gonna cut my front and my back. The back doesn't have a fold line, so I'm gonna fold and cut two at the same time also, but just for the sake of saving time. And I'm not gonna shoot because you don't need to watch me cutting the fabrics, and then I'm gonna show you exactly how to cut the other ones. When I cut the straps, I also have to watch out for the grain line. And as always, I fold the fabric in two and I cut. But for the straps, we have a small detail that I also did when I did the bikini pattern top winter, which was the second fabric. In this case, this is going to be black with black, first side and second side, but that doesn't mean that I don't do the same. So I'm gonna explain you what to do with your second fabric, despite mine is black. The second fabric, you should remove half of the seam allowance here, half of the seam allowance here, and half of the seam allowance on this line here. So once you have your four straps, place your right strap and your left strap on the table, and one fabric, the second fabric, should be cut again, removing half of the seam allowance. Almost all the seam allowance. It's not half, it's a little bit more than half, but usually I do it by the eye, so it's more or less 5 millimeters. And I usually remove 5 millimeters from this edge and from this edge on my second fabric. For the power mesh, we only need to place it with the greater stretch horizontally, and cut the front and the back. As always, I fold. For my front top, I can place it here. This is actually very slippery. I place the fold line here, and I cut. And I will also cut the back. I can secure my fabric to the pattern with two clips. I will cut this, and then I will also cut the back. And for the power mesh, that's it. And finally, for my Civiglia lining, just use the same pattern pieces, main, front and back, and cut just like we did for the main blue fabric. Now I have here my two straps, one already with half of the seam allowances trimmed on this edge and also here, so that it will not have excess fabric on the second side. The same for my second strap. My power mesh, which I actually ended up cutting on the strong power mesh that I have at home that I use for bra making. And I have my back piece and I have my front piece. And then we have the 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏 lining fabric in black. This is the 2 pieces for my back. This is my front, and then as the main fabric, the blue one front and 2 backs. And to start, we can start by sewing our darts on the main fabric, on our lining, and also sewing the center back seam, the curved center back seam of our swimsuit from one edge to the other, just combining the 2 pieces together and sewing from the lower edge until the top edge here with the overlock, without elastic, of course, and repeat the same for your main fabric. As for the darts, we have many videos explaining how to sew darts, and we have a specific small, very short video letting you know how you can sew your darts, so I'm not going too deep into this in this video. You can check that video if you need to learn how to sew perfect darts without bulkiness on the bust point. So let's go ahead, pin all these fabrics that I've just told you and sew them. We can also sew the straps already, aligning one of the edges first and applying the elastic on the side of your main fabric, so the bigger one, and apply the elastic on one side. And once that side is sewn, grab the fabrics, align them again, pin them again, and sew them again, applying elastic. And the straps will be completely finished and ready to be sewn into the main swimsuit. So I have sewn my straps on this edge, applying the elastic on the side of the main fabric, just like I've told you. And now I'm preparing the straps to sew these 2 edges. And since we have one smaller fabric than the other, don't worry, you just align them on the edge, just like if they were just on top of each other, and they are, and just align them. And again, as I told you before, we are gonna sew these 2 edges, applying the elastic on the side of our main fabric. In this case, I have black on both of them, but since I already have on my table one side with the elastic, it's easy not to make a mistake and apply the elastic on the wrong side. By doing this technique that I'm showing you, reducing almost all the seam allowance from your second fabric will enable us not to have excess fabric once the strap is reversed to the right side. And you will see this if you try this at home. So now I'm gonna sew here and here, applying the elastic, and I'm gonna do the same here. You can also, using your pattern, you can also go ahead and mark. I usually only mark the outer sides of the strap insertion. So using the notches mentioned on the pattern, I place one pin on each side on the outer parts of my strap, already being prepared so that when my straps are ready, I can move to the next step, which is sewing them to the main fabric. So let's go ahead and prepare our straps. When my straps are ready, I always trim a little bit the sticky edges here, just because I don't want this to be seen once they are reversed to the right side. So I always trim these small edges on the edges of my straps. And after you do this, you can go ahead and place your straps to the right sides, both of them. And I'm gonna let you know what we can do next. Now, if you take a look at your straps, you have a position for them, and the position is, it's quite easy. You have to check both edges. Oh, first of all, let me show you that we don't have excess fabric. This is my second side of the fabric, as you can see. This is the second side, and I'm glad I removed the seam allowance, almost all the seam allowance, remember? And so I will not have excess fabric on the second side. But moving on, you should check on the edge of your strap. You have one side which is sharper, the edge has a steeper angle, and the opposite edge is much more straight, like a 90 degrees, like this one. This is your front, okay? So, and this is mentioned on the pattern, so don't worry. And since this is my front, if I place this in this position and I open my strap so I can perfectly see the position, I know that my strap is going to be built on my swimsuit like so. So this is the front and this will be the back. So I know that this one is on this side, and now I'm gonna check the same for this one. So the main fabric is this side, and then this is the front, obviously. And you can see here the steeper angle, which is the back. So now that I know the position of my straps, I'm going to show you on one side and then you can repeat on the other. I'm just going to place a clip here so I don't have to check again. So one of the first things I do here, and this is optional, is I go to my sewing machine, my straight stitch machine, and I do a zigzag very near here the edge, just to stabilize the elastics and this seam very flat, because this makes it easier for me to then come here and align it like so, and sewing again, securing the strap to the main fabric just on this spot here, and the same on this side. But instead of doing directly the securing of the strap with the main fabric, I rather go to my sewing machine, first stabilize my strap, and then come with the strap stabilized and apply it here. And that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to show you on one side and then you will repeat for the other. So stabilize the edge here. You can also stabilize the opposite edge. And then I'll come back to the table here to show you the next step. So with a simple zigzag, I stabilized and flattened my seams. I will then probably remove this because I think this one here on the edge, maybe it will come out and you will be able to see it, but we will see. Well, now grab your front and front with front, right sides facing together. It's very simple. Align the outer sides, which we have marked the notch, and here. I'm going to clip this in pin this in place, and I'm going to my straight stitch machine, and again with a zigzag and very near the edge, I'm just going to stabilize and sew the two fabrics together. And I'm going to repeat the process on my second strap on the front. This is not a 90-degree angle, it has a slight angle, so I would advise you to just align the edge of the fabrics and not position it on a position that you think it's the correct one. You just need to align the edge of the strap with the edge of the top front of your swimsuit. Now this is the point in which if you don't want to include the power mesh and the shelf bra or built-in bra, you should only, of course, just place right sides facing together with your lining and sew on this area here, and we will only have two fabrics. But I want also to have my built-in bra, which I've done it before in the red swimsuit winter, and you saw that, and it's so comfortable. I really want to add this to my swimsuit. So I'm actually going to tell you in which order we need to combine the fabrics in this area here to make the top snuggle you and be in contact with your body, but still include lining on your swimsuit. So with your main fabric and your strap in place, grab your power mesh with the wrong side facing up on the table. So right side with right side, I forgot to trim this. And align the parts only where we have the strap. You can mark the notch on your power mesh if you want to. I'm just going to align the fabric without any stretch, and I know that it's in place, so I don't need to actually go ahead and place the notches, because I know that if I don't stretch, they are just the same size, so this is okay. And I'm gonna pin in place, and I'm gonna repeat here. And then grab your lining fabric, and the wrong side is facing up on my table, and my right side is facing the wrong side of the power mesh, but it's actually facing the right sides of your swimwear fabric. And I'm gonna also place it on top here without stretching anything. So I'm just gonna place a clip here, and I'm going to, without any stretch, also add this one here, and I'm gonna pin. And I'm going to my sewing machine, my straight stitch machine, and I'm just going over this area here to secure the fabrics together with the strap. I don't do the entire edge of the swimsuit because I then want to add elastic, and we will do it later. For now, I'm just looking for stabilizing the strap between all the fabrics. So a little bit here, the strap is here, and I'm gonna align, pin, and I'm gonna do like a small bit here, and the same on the other side. I use the straight stitch because this doesn't matter, it's just to stabilize the fabrics together and in place. So it doesn't matter, you can use a straight stitch if you want. And if you want to check it out, your result, and to see if everything is okay, when you turn the swimsuit to the right side, you should have your straps perfect. And on the inside, you should have this side, which has no seams against your body, and your lining underneath your top power mesh. And the front, with the straps secured, is now ready to be combined with the back. This is just because we will then want to do the entire top in one go with the elastic. So now we need to combine the same we did for the straps for the front. We will do exactly the same for our back piece. Let me show you how. Just like we did for the front, grab your paper pattern piece and place it in place and mark where your notches are. In this case, I'm gonna mark the inside, the one that it's near the center back, and I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Now I grab my pattern piece from my power mesh, from my built-in bra, and I've checked the position, and I know that the notches are here in the center. So what I'm gonna do is just align without any stretch again. So the size is the same, so no problem. We just align it here, just so I know where my built-in bra will have just so I know one of them. Okay, now I'm gonna grab my front and I'm gonna place it on my table, just like if it was ready, and I put it backwards, right? And my straps are going to be like so, and this one like so. So grabbing your main fabric here, this actually, once it's finished, it has to be, make sure that this is not twisted. This needs to be like so. So now I'm just gonna place right sides facing together. I'm gonna do in one, and you can imagine, and do the same on the other. So without the strap being twisted, simulate that it is attached in place, and then just place right sides facing together of your fabric, like so. And just like I told you, we have a tilt, some angle here on the strap. So keep using the angle that we have for the strap, and I'm sorry, this threads is killing me. And just align it on the edge of your bottom of your back here on the top, and pin in place, and that's it. We will pin this in place, and we will secure it first to this layer of fabric, and then we will add the two other layers just like we did for the front. So I'm just going to place this one, and now I'm gonna do and repeat the process for my second one. Make sure that you have your fabrics on your table and you actually practice this before, so that you are sure that you are not twisting your strap. This is important. You don't want to go and have to do this again, which has happened to me in one of the tests that I did. So avoid that, please. So my straps are attached to my back. Now, as I just told you before, grab your power mesh, align it, and we will go again and combine the fabrics, but we will go in one go. We also attach the lining, just like we did for the front. And just like we did for the front, we will place right sides facing together, the main fabric with our lining. So my fabric, the right side with the right side. And again, align and sew only on the areas where we want to secure the straps. So I have the back secured. If you feel like you want to, you can already go ahead and trim these small bits that are sticking out here. And do the same on the front so you don't have sticky edges here. So now we have, I've placed this part. This is not sewn, you know, just the straps, as you know. I've placed my fabrics just like if it was finished. So my straps need to make sure that are not twisted. And my goal now is to sew all the sides from all the fabrics and having the seams facing inside, of course. So the first that I'm gonna do is the outer fabric. And I'm gonna do so by placing right sides facing together, aligning the sides and sewing the sides. And to do so, you have a lot of ways to twist your fabrics, but let me see if I can get it completely on camera. So I have this flat here, and this is secure and not twisted. And I'm just going to grab my main fabric from the back, and I'm gonna bring it right sides facing with my front. And align the sides and sew the sides. So it's quite easy. Take all the other fabrics out of the way and align both sides and sew both sides without elastic. When I go to the dart area, I always flatten the dart so I don't have bulkiness here, and I just sew both sides. So I want to show you something. My side seam, not measuring the measurement with the seam allowance. I'm measuring the actual pattern, and my side seam here is 8.5 centimeters, whatever, on the back. And on the front, also on the same line, I have the exact same measurement. This is obvious, right? Just like on the front here, these two together have the same length that this part here, so that they will all match when sewn together. However, when you are spinning, and this, I know that it may look strange, it looks like one is bigger than the other, but this is not right, okay? One is exactly the same size as the other. The only thing is that with the seam allowance, you have this sharp edge here, and that's why it looks one is bigger than the other, but it's not. Once you sew with using your seam allowance, you will actually have the perfect size between the front and the back, okay? So don't think this is a mistake from you. It's not. It's only natural that this happens to you, just like it happens to me here. So side seams of the main fabric are sewn together, and we need to do the same for our lining and for our power mesh. So again, this time I'm just going to grab them together, these two, the lining, front with front, and again I'm gonna grab the sides, align them and sew them together. So the right side with the right side, it's inside here. I'm gonna align. This is a very slippery fabric, so I have to be patient. I'm gonna align the side just like we did on both sides and sew them together. And now carefully, we just need to remove this from the way. Only grab our, this looks like a mess, I know, but it's not that hard, believe me. You just need to think intuitively also, and of course check if you're doing the right things before you sew them. But so I'm okay. I have my 2 power mesh now, and I'm gonna align my power mesh sides just like I did for the other fabrics, and I'm gonna sew them. And once your sides for the power mesh are sewn, please measure the under the bust line on your pattern in paper, and taking that measurement, you can cut the underband elastic. Don't forget to leave a little bit for the seam allowance. Choose if you want to overlap them or just them touching together, and cut accordingly. Then, with your elastic band already cut and sewn together, place the soft side of the elastic facing the main side of your top. Align the edge and pin all around. You can then go to your overlock and sew. Then I just flatten the elastic bands and apply a zigzag all around to stabilize the seam and to make it more comfortable. Lower band is sewn in place, we need to align the top edge of our swimsuit so that we can apply the elastic and sew all the fabrics together. And to do so, we need to go around here with the fabrics until we have all the fabrics sandwiched inside. And we have, remember when we made this to secure the straps? So we need to sew all around with the fabrics in this position. So of course, this is a lot of fabrics here now at this moment, but we just need to very carefully place them in a way that we are able to align from the front to the back, like so. Okay, so the straps are inside. And now I'm gonna pin all around the edge here, and I'm going to sew applying the elastic on the side of my main fabric. So I'm gonna put it in the fabric in this position, because you know that I like to pin with my main side where I'm gonna apply the elastic facing up. So I'm gonna very carefully align all the fabrics, pin all around, and sew applying the rubber elastic. So the elastic is applied all around. Check if the lining is also sewn in place, which it should be. And now it's an interesting part because you already can see a little bit of how it's going to turn out. So just reverse it normally to the right side. And we are now almost ready to go and sew our leg holes. Everything is inside here. And we are missing the leg holes and this lower part here. And so again here we will be sewing right sides facing together for the 2 layers. And what I'm gonna do is, of course, placing them like this, right? So right sides facing together. I align this and I sew this in place. And then I do the same for the lining. At this point, if you want, you can do this for the 4 layers at the same time. But I don't do it because the probability of having one of the fabrics twisted and not in the correct position is very high, and I don't want to risk it. So I'm gonna sew this layer first and then the fabric for my lining fabric second on the same area, and again, right sides facing together. So with the gusset area already sewn in place, both of them, I pinned the entire leg hole, and I'm gonna do the same for the other, but one at a time. And I'm going to apply the elastic on the side of my lining, because we will then do a top stitch with a zigzag or a cover stitch if you want to use your cover stitch, or if you have a cover stitch machine. So I'm going to just apply the elastic with the black side facing up, so on this side. And once I apply the elastic, you just need to fold it and do the top stitch, but I will come back to show you the next step. So with my elastic already applied, I just folded the fabric inwards and applied a zigzag all around my leg hole, and I repeated the process for my other leg hole. Don't forget to practice the zigzag size so that you are sure that will be perfect on your swimwear fabric, and including the rubber elastic you have underneath. On the table, but I'm gonna show you on my body. And as you know, I did the higher waist for my own measurement, for my own taste, not for my measurement, for my taste. And I've shown you on a previous video how to also change if you want to add to change the pattern to a higher hip, just like I did. And it even looks strange here on the straps, but this is so amazing when it's on a body. I'm gonna take some pictures and videos so you can also see how it looks. And I hope to see your work too when you are able to do one winter for you and send me. Bye girls!